That's good. Friday morning coffee, good. Got a good mix. A little strong, but that'll get us ready for the weekend, right? Got to have the energy up for your Friday and make sure the weekend starts right. Of course, taking into account that some people work on the weekend. And you probably already had your days off then, right? So for those of us that are getting ready to go into the weekend, why does this look weird? There you go. All right, we're going to start Friday off the right way. All right, so here we go. How you doing? My name is Al Gavada. It is a Friday morning, beautiful outside, and today we're talking about fear. More importantly, motivational quotes to help you face your fears. You know why? Because worry never fixes anything. Have you ever sat and just worried about something? Just worried about this, worried about that. What's going to happen? What if? And one of them says, I had some quotes up here. It says, what is the worst thing that can happen if I go all in? What am I willing to give to make it happen? How many years have I been waiting to make something happen? Are my dreams worth the struggle? That's the type of worrying you should do. Positive leaning worrying, right? Not like what ifs. It's like when you first start getting interested or looking into maybe talking to somebody to start some sort of relationship with, you go through all the scenarios in your head, right? It's all worry. And then when you actually do it, usually not all the time, not 100% of the time, some of us strike out a lot. Uh, but, usually the worry, the scenario that went through your head wasn't even a thing, right? It didn't even come into play. So today we're going to be talking about motivational quotes to help you face your fears because worry never fixes anything. It's an article by Jessica Cramp on success.com. I just posted the link on the comment section. So here we go. Let's start off and see what Jessica has to say. It says fear, and I just messed that up. Hang on, let me get this. There you go. Fear is something that lurks in the shadows of our mind, something that haunts us, paralyzes us. And like anybody else, I know what fear feels like. When I'm anxious about something, my stomach does somersaults, my throat gets tight, my mind gets tangled, muddled, right? The worry, the dread stalks my thoughts. What are you afraid of? Have you ever really thought about it? The things that distract you, that are holding you back, are they worth fearing? Are they really worth the angst, the stress? Probably not. Because worry never really fixes anything, Like author Leo Buscaglia said, worry never robs tomorrow of its sorrow. It only saps today of its joy. Preach, is what the article says. Let me repeat that quote because it's very important. Leo Buscaglia. Worry never robs tomorrow of its sorrow. What's going to happen is going to happen. It only saps today of its joy, because if you have no reason for sorrow today, you are sapping the joy out of today by worrying about tomorrow. And that tomorrow, what's going to happen is going to happen, right? I mean, yeah, you can change some things about tomorrow, but focus on today and keep the positive in today. It says, I know that's easier said than done to just stop. And Jessica says, I mean, you're talking to the queen of overthinking. I got a disciple right here. I do a lot of overthinking, something I got to work on. It says, but maybe these motivational quotes about fear, about understanding it and facing it can help us both and you too. Everybody watching this video today on a Friday or on a replay, let's talk about these quotes and hopefully it'll help us out. All right, here we go. Let's face our fears together. Let's show them who's boss. Ready? I am. Here we go. Number 1, Marie Curie. Nothing in life is to be feared. It is only to be understood. Now's the time to understand more so that we may fear less, right? I mean, what is fear if not things we don't understand? We've seen that throughout history, right? We fear what we don't understand. You've seen it in literature. You've seen it in history books. Fearing the unknown. Nothing is in life is to be feared. It is only to be understood. Now is the time to understand more so that we may fear less. Marie Curie. It's almost like failure. Do you fear failure? Do you fear failing? Do you fear messing up at your job? Do you fear messing up in your relationships? Do you fear messing up on your journey of life? Do you fear it? Are you afraid of that? Or do you not just understand that it's a lesson, a learning opportunity? Nothing in life is to be feared. It is only to be understood. Now is the time to understand more so that we may fear less. Marie Curie. Number 2, Napoleon Hill, right? Plenty of great books from Napoleon Hill. Think and Grow Rich, Outwitting the Devil, so many more. Fears are nothing more than a state of mind. Absolutely. Have you ever been afraid and then been distracted and then realized, why was I afraid? And asking yourself, why was I afraid of that? Or facing a fear and then realizing that your fear was unfounded. Fear is a state of mind, and a lot of times it becomes an echo chamber where it starts reverberating, bouncing around our skull, and making us be afraid. We're afraid by just the repetition of that fear inside our brain, where we make ourselves scared. We're scared of that shadow in the corner. We're scared of that little scratch noise or whatever, But it's more about fear of undertaking. We are afraid of taking something on because we just haven't done it yet. And once we do it, we're like, oh, it was not that big of a deal. Or maybe it was a big deal and we failed, but it's not failure if we learn something from it, right? It says, like the first quote said, nothing in life is to be feared. It is only to be understood. So fears are nothing more than a state of mind. Identifying them as such gives you a huge leg up in the fight against facing your fears. Napoleon Hill, fears are nothing more than a state of mind. Number 3, Judy Blume. Each of us must confront our own fears, must come face to face with them. How we handle our fears will determine where we go with the rest of our lives, to experience adventure or to be limited by the fear of it. Now, if you ever want to have a conversation with me about how I face certain fears in my life, we can have that conversation, and I'll give you one fear that I faced head on, the fear of heights. And if you want details, we'll chat about that, because I did a couple of things that were highly questionable, but I confronted my fear, right? Fear of public speaking, right? Fear of getting in front of an audience. I've been in front of an audience of a couple people, half a dozen. Why say half a dozen when you could just say 6, right? Save some time. I've been in front of 6 people. I've been in front of a dozen people. I've been in front of 30 people. I've been in front of 100 people. I've spoken in front of all these, by the way. I've spoken in front of 8,000, 10,000 people, But if you don't do it, you're going to be limited by your fear as you live your life. This quote by Judy Blume, each of us must confront our own fears, must come face to face with them. How we handle our fears will determine where we go with the rest of our lives. To experience adventure or to be limited by the fear of it. This is not saying that you face your fear one time and you're done. Maybe. The reality is you're probably going to be facing and refacing fears. But the fact that you were able to face it once means that you can do it again. Tapping into that core of strength that I talk about. Each of us are built around a core of strength. We either enhance it, fortify it, strengthen it, or dampen it down with worry, fear, and anxiety, and, things like that. It's your decision. My other quote, every single moment we're alive is a chance at rebirth. You choose. Choose whether you want to face your fear or let that fear control you for another day. Right? Each of us must confront our own fears, must come face to face with them. How we handle our fears will determine where we go with the rest of our lives. To experience adventure or to be limited by the fear of it. Judy Blume. Next one, Norman Vincent Peale, Power of Positive Thinking. Action is a great restorer and builder of confidence. Inaction is not only the result, but the cause of fear. Perhaps the action you take will be successful. Perhaps different action or adjustments will have to follow. But any action is better than no action at all. When I end my talks, I end with a quote. And I say, above anything, more importantly, take action, right? And that's what this is. Facing your fear, right? We're talking about motivational quotes to help you face your fears because worry never fixes anything. Worry is inaction. Worry is inaction. You think you're doing something by worrying, but you're not. You're not. It's almost like, I'm going to eat this imaginary crumpet that my child says when we're having a tea party. Here, eat this. Okay, what is it? It's got pineapples and, tree bark. Okay, you're not eating anything, right? Just like worry. Just like worry. It's nothing. Worry is inaction. Again, action is a great restorer and builder of confidence. Inaction is not only the result, but the cause of fear. You're not trapped in inaction because you're afraid. Inaction may be causing you to be afraid. Perhaps the action you take will be successful. You don't take it, you'll never know. Perhaps different action or adjustments will have to follow because that initial action was not successful or as successful as you needed it to be. But any action is better than no action at all. Norman Vincent Peale. Great quote. Next one, Orson Swett Marden. Obstacles are like wild animals. They are cowards, but they will bluff you if they can. If they see you are afraid of them, they are liable to spring upon you. But if you look them squarely in the eye, they will slink out of sight. In that way, obstacles are like wild animals. Facing your fears, it goes back to that. Facing your fear and then realizing that by facing your fear, you're taking the power away from that fear that it holds over you. You're taking control of that power. Every single moment we're alive is a chance of rebirth. Choose to be reborn powerful, taking that power away from that fear by taking action. Obstacles are like wild animals. They are cowards, but they will bluff you if they can. If they see you are afraid of them, they are liable to spring upon you, these fears, these obstacles. But if you look them squarely in the eye, face them, they will slink out of sight. Great quote, Orson Swett Marden. Number 6, you gain strength, courage, and confidence by every experience in which you really stop to look fear in the face. You are able to say to yourself, I have lived through this horror. I can take the next thing that comes along. You must do the thing you think you cannot do. Eleanor Roosevelt. Great quote. I'm going to say that one again. You gain strength, courage, and confidence by every experience in which you really stop to look fear in the face. You're able to say to yourself, I've lived through this horror. I can take the next thing that comes along. You must do the thing you think you cannot do. That is the key. You must do the thing you think you cannot do. You are the obstacle, right? We are the obstacle in not getting things done. I think I cannot do it. We reverberate that in our skull, in our brain space. We convince ourselves that we can't do it. How about you think you can do it? How about thinking you can do it because you can? Then you gain strength, courage, and confidence by stopping to look fear in the face, tapping into your core of strength, making the decision to take the power from the fear. Great quote by Eleanor Roosevelt. Last one, and I love this quote because there's a few of quotes by this person who are phenomenal. Well, actually, more than a few. I apologize. Ralph Waldo Emerson. Always do what you are afraid to do. Why? Because you are limiting yourself by saying you are afraid to do something. You are limiting yourself. And here's the best part about being afraid of something. Best slash worst part about being afraid of something. Once you admit to yourself that you're afraid of doing something, you will justify being afraid of doing something else. And then it becomes a compounding issue. If you convince yourself that you are fearful, that you are afraid of doing this and then that, guess what? That third thing that maybe you're on the fence on, you will say, you know what, I'm afraid of doing that too. So now you're convincing yourself that you have no ability to do things, that you're afraid to do them. And if nobody is telling you otherwise, which I am, you can do it. If nobody's telling you otherwise, you will convince yourself. And the worst part, speaking of compounding, if you are amongst people who think the same way, you will exponentially compound your fears. Their fears will feed into your fears and vice versa. And each of you will reinforce the fact that you're afraid, maybe incapable, convincing yourself of doing this. And what is that? Maybe it's a new job you're undertaking. Maybe it's a new position you're undertaking. Maybe it's something you've always wanted to try. There's no way I can sing in front of people. Yeah, no way. Yeah, no, I can't. I wouldn't be able to do that. No. And then it just becomes no, you're right. You're absolutely right. You can't, right? And then you'll never do it. And that's just an example, right? It could be something that's super important to your life that you're not doing, but you're convincing yourself that you can't. So here we go. That's the last quote, so let's review. The article is by Jessica Cramp on success.com, and the link is in the comments. 7 motivational quotes to help you face your fears, because worry never fixes anything. Number 1, nothing in life is to be feared. It is only to be understood. Now is the time to understand more so that we may fear less. Marie Curie. Number 2, fears are nothing more than a state of mind. Napoleon Hill. Number 3, each of us must confront our own fears, must come face to face with them. How we handle our fears will determine where we go with the rest of our lives. To experience adventure or to be limited by the fear of it. Judy Blume. Number 4, action is a great restorer and builder of confidence. Inaction is not only the result, but the cause of fear. Perhaps the action you take will be successful. Perhaps different action or adjustments will have to follow. But any action is better than no action at all. Norman Vincent Peale. Number 5, obstacles are like wild animals. They are cowards, but they will bluff you if they can. If they see you are afraid of them, they are liable to spring upon you. But if you look them squarely in the eye, they will slink out of sight. Orson Swett Marden. Number 6, you gain strength, courage, and confidence by every experience in which you really stop to look fear in the face. You are able to say to yourself, I have lived through this horror. I can take the next thing that comes along. You must do the right thing. You must do the thing you think you cannot do. Eleanor Roosevelt. And last but not least, number 7, always do what you are afraid to do. Ralph Waldo Emerson. Great collection of quotes this morning. I hope that helped you. If you watched it live or on a replay, I appreciate you. If you're watching it on my YouTube channel, please hit the subscribe button. I'd love to have you join us, and we do these Monday, Wednesday, and Friday so we can get this information, this type of insight into quotes to people who need it. Now, not everybody gets the same information the same way. Maybe this is what they need to help them get motivated, to help them get past that obstacle, to help them get past that fear, and with your help, we can get the message out there, all right? So, have yourself a wonderful Friday and a wonderful weekend. Remember, knowledge is power. Imagination is king, and intelligence your weapon. Read a good book today, enrich your mind, and above all, everything else, take action. Until Monday, when we speak again, we'll be talking.